morning. My name is Jason Hammer. And listen, we're all fighting this inflation problem in America right now. But according to top economic experts, the best way to beat it? Gambling on college football, baby. And we're going to give you some money today so you can afford your groceries. You're welcome, America.
Hey, I'm Scott Long, and on Hammer's thing, my portfolio is down 30% this year. It's almost worse than my picks, but it's going to change today. College football right here, right now.
This is All Indiana Bets.
Well, another week where we have ran off a female co-host, Scott. I feel like we're getting a lot accomplished on this show.
Yeah.
We're making picks, we're breaking down college football, we're eating, we're drinking, and yet here we are once again looking like the worst frat house on everybody's college campus. There's not a woman to be found, and it's just two dudes sitting in a corner.
Well, don't worry, for next time, I've got Adam Levine.
Oh, no.
He's going to bring in like a lot of ladies for us.
No, we're not going to do that.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask you this. In the state of Indiana,
yes,
if you throw the records out, if you just take the records and throw them out the window, just using the eyeball test here,
right,
who is the best college football team in the state?
Probably Valpo. I mean, are they still doing football?
They've got a great baseball field, by the way.
Yes, and no, I would look. Purdue's record does not show it, but Purdue should be undefeated. They're playing well, except at the end of the games when the coach decides that he's got to pass the ball.
Well, the Hoosiers are 3-0.
They are.
They have the best record of anybody in the state.
Yes.
And today, we're going to find out if the Hoosiers are indeed the best college football team in the state.
If they win today, they are.
And they've got a test. They're going down to Cincinnati, Skyline Chili Company.
Worst food ever. Never going to come into this show.
16.5. The Bearcats are the favorite against the Hoosiers. Scott, this was the game last year where Cincinnati kind of turned that corner. It was a close game. It was a game that Indiana was in the mix on. But once Cincinnati won this one, they were off and running. They went to Notre Dame
the other direction after this game.
Right.
I actually think Indiana can keep it close. This is not the same Cincinnati team from last year. I mean, Alex Pierce was playing for him last year, and he was healthy. It was a crazy thing. So what I would say right now is I would lean IU. I wouldn't put a lot of hard-earned money on it, but I don't love the Bearcats this year. They got smoked in a way when they went down to Arkansas and kind of got exposed.
They pushed on the spread in that game. So I wouldn't know if they got smoked.
It wasn't
they
close.
Pushed. But yeah, I'm with you on this one. No Desmond Ridder, no Alec Pierce, who was actually catching touchdown passes for the Bearcats last year.
And I call him Alex. I refuse to call anybody Alec.
Really?
Yeah, it's just I don't like a C in the. Go ahead.
See, this is the kind of breakdown you get right here on All Indiana Bets. We bring the show to a screeching halt to find out why Grandpa wants to say somebody's name wrong.
Yeah.
16.5 feels like a big number, though.
Seems totally fair, by the way.
Seems like it's a big number. I'm not in love with any of the local games today.
Yeah.
We'll get to our official plays coming up in just a little bit, but
the reasons you watch the show.
Right.
Why do you watch the show? I'm just, honestly, tweet us and tell us, because sometimes I watch the show, I can't even figure out why people are watching it.
16.5, I'm leaning Hoosiers on this one. Feels like a game Cincinnati's going to win, but you get into that backdoor cover territory, and I like the team with the points in that one. Now, Purdue, the eyeball test tells us that Purdue might be the best team in the state. They certainly have the best quarterback, but is that quarterback going to be available tonight, Scott?
Yeah, I think it's up in the air, and I think part of the up in the air is if they were playing a Big Ten team, he's playing.
Right.
Florida Atlantic sucks.
Game time decision for Aiden O'Connell tonight of Purdue.
Yeah. FAU, bad football team. I'll take the backup quarterback and Braum. This is the kind of game that Purdue will, I believe, win by 3 touchdowns. So I like him. Once again, I'm still a little nervous about McConnell, so I'm not sure I would bet the game, but I would lean Purdue.
Are you concerned about the spot of this game? Because it's kind of one of those trap or sandwich games, if you want to call it, for Purdue. You're coming off that emotional letdown at Syracuse. You've got a pretty good Minnesota squad in Big Ten play next week. And here you are, FAU, coming into West Lafayette, game in the evening. Your quarterback, if he plays, he's banged up just a little bit. I don't know. I'm not touching this one. But if I had a play, if I know Aiden O'Connell is going to start, I'm kind of leaning the over on this one.
If there were Purdue and they were 3-0, which they probably should be.
They should be.
That would be a total flat spot, and the spread would probably be 22 points. So at 15.5, that's where I would lean, is the Boilers.
And we're going to get to Notre Dame here in just a little bit. We'll round out the state teams. But let's get down to business. Scott, your first official pick. What's on your card? Let's make some money.
Last week I did this, and we were like, oh, you're a homer. Yeah, Iowa, they suck on offense. They're terrible. They have the worst offensive. That's all true.
All true.
I'm a homer. They have the worst offense in college football of made. But once again, they play another team that cannot score the ball either. Rutgers had 16 points at home versus Temple. Won 16-14. I'm just going to say right now, this is the greatest punter game in the history of college football.
Well, I can't wait to watch this one.
Oh, look, when you're from the state of Iowa, you embrace the punt, because it is so much part of your offense because you don't have any. Iowa started getting players back, and all of a sudden they looked a little better against a bad Nevada team. I like the Hawkeyes to win by 10 points, which is a blowout for the Hawkeyes.
That's like a 20-point win for somebody else.
Right. I loved it better. I bet it at 7. It moved to 8. We got some line movement, which can adjust your ideas. Take the Hawkeyes. Maybe turn it on late in the fourth quarter. You don't want to watch that before this.
Have you ever made a bet and then not watched one single minute of the game out of choice? Like some of the games might not be on television. These degenerate games that I pick sometimes aren't on. This will be on somewhere. Are
They're
you
not
going
even
to make
on
the
the
choice?
internet. I mean, they won't even give you the score. It's like when you put in your GPS some location and it doesn't exist.
Right.
That's half of his degenerate picks. They don't even know. You have to read it in a newspaper, which I don't even know if they print anymore the following morning.
So that being said, though, are you going to spend some of your valuable time watching Punt Fest 2022?
You are a Tennessee Vol fan, right? And
I
now
am.
it's the glory days. They're finally back. But think about, the last decade before that. Did you watch some of those games always?
I did.
Yeah, it's torture, but it's like a fun torture that you put yourself through. I mean, I'm watching the Hawkeyes like I'm begging for Curtis Painter to show up at quarterback.
All right, I'm going to keep it in the Big Ten here, my first official play, and the Michigan Wolverines taking on the other Tagovailoa brother. I like Michigan in this one because they're playing for style points. In a world where everybody's talking about, is Georgia better than they were a year ago? Alabama, Ohio State. Michigan wants to remind everybody, you know what? We beat Ohio State last year, and I want to prove that it's not a fluke. So you've got the Fighting Jim Harbaughs here, laying 17. That defense from Michigan's pretty good. Now, I know Maryland's going to move the ball. Maryland should find a way to put some points on the board. But the ground game from Michigan, the defense from Michigan, I don't think this is enough. And the fact that this has stayed flat all week at 17 is a little bit of a surprise for me. I like Michigan here. I'm going to lay 17. Conference play, big number, but I feel good about Michigan. And we're going to have a theme this day, style points. A lot of teams are looking for style points. Michigan's one of them. Go ahead and lay that 17.
Okay, so you're on Michigan. Let me ask you one more question about Michigan. So you've got, at the start of the year, it was Alabama and Ohio State, and then a lot of people thought Georgia was right next to them. Then after the Oregon game, everyone's like, maybe Georgia's better than Alabama and Ohio State. But there's always that fourth team. Is Michigan getting closer to them, or is it further away? Are they closer to the rest of the field than those three teams, or are they closer to the actual three teams?
It's a race for number 4 right now. Okay. The big three have pulled away, but Michigan, USC, don't sleep on the Trojans. They've got a shot to make
Sleep on the Trojans.
Noise.
They have no defense. They've been totally lucky the whole year.
But they might cover today, I'm just saying. All right, so if you want to get a head start on all of our picks, look right above Scott Long's 5-head right there.
Yeah,
You're going
right
to find a QR code. Scan that bad boy in, and you will get all of our picks throughout the show. That's just fancy talk for, I can't watch this train wreck of a TV show anymore. Just give me the picks so I can make a run to go get something to eat. There's your QR code. Scan it and have some fun and win some cash. When we come back, Notre Dame. Where are we at with the Irish? Is this a team that's getting better? Is this a team that should be 0-3? Where are we at with Notre Dame? And can they keep pace with a high-octane North Carolina offense? Never thought we'd say that. That pick and more coming up. Don't go anywhere. This is All Indiana Bets. Having a good time with you guys on All Indiana Bets. And Scott, Heritage College basketball programs have had a great start to the football season. North Carolina,
right.
Duke, Kansas, Indiana, all playing good ball. But today I think you're going to see North Carolina against Notre Dame, and
right.
whether or not this is the breakthrough game for Carolina. North Carolina's unbeaten, but they could be 0-3. That defense is atrocious. But the thing is, North Carolina, they're going to outscore Notre Dame today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I like the Irish, but watching them offensively, it looks painful. They have such a hard time. They struggle to score points. This isn't an official play for me today, but I like North Carolina to cover in this one, Scott. Listen, it could go over, but boy, Notre Dame's offense, I just don't think they can keep pace.
I could never play the over-under in this game because who knows what Notre Dame's going to bring to the over, and who knows what North Carolina is going to bring to the under. But I love North Carolina in this spot, and it really comes down to coaching. At the start of the year, when our producer Peter was like, hey, let's do over-unders for how many games Notre Dame's going to win. I'm like, they're going to go way under. They haven't the most inexperienced coach in college football taking over the biggest program in college football nationally. What was that about? You've got an inexperienced young offensive coordinator who is definitely over his skis. The defense looks decent. North Carolina has got, is he the oldest coach, Mac Brown? Probably in college football. He's got to be right there with Saban. He's won a national title. He's kind of up and down as a coach. But this is a win game for them. This is at North Carolina. They played at App State earlier this year. They're looking to actually play the biggest game of the year is this game right now for the Tar Heels. I love them in this spot. I don't think Notre Dame can produce the points like you said, Hammer. And on top of it, they've kind of looked better since they lost their quarterback to the NFL this year. I love the Tar Heels, like I said, in this spot. I don't think you have to worry about Notre Dame pretty much the rest of this year. I don't know the way we can talk about them.
Yeah, backup quarterback for Notre Dame, still trying to figure out the system. Man, North Carolina's going to put some points up. We know that.
Yeah.
Can Notre Dame keep pace? That is the question. All right, for my next official play of the day, this one kind of breaks my heart just a little bit.
No.
But this tells you that this show is about the money. We're not running around here like fans picking our favorite teams. I'm picking the Florida Gators with the points today against my Tennessee Volunteers. This game, this series, always has the most bizarre things happen to it. Whether it's the Jabbar Gaffney touchdown that won it for Florida a couple years ago, the last 20 years, the Gators have owned this series, especially in Knoxville. Now, I know it's rowdy down there. They've got TV shows they're doing there. It's going to be the big checker out around the stadium, one of the biggest stadiums in the country, one of the loudest stadiums in the country. But this is too many points for a rivalry game and a divisional conference game here. Tennessee's going to put some points up, but I'm not in love with that Tennessee defense. Look what happened the one time they played a team that wasn't a MAC squad this year. Pittsburgh, who not only didn't have Kenny Pickett, who's in the NFL now, their starting quarterback got banged up early in the game. A backup comes in, and Tennessee's defense still has a hard time. That game goes to overtime. Tennessee wins it in overtime here. Can Florida keep pace with Tennessee? We're going to find out, but 10.5 is an awful big number for this anything can happen type of series. Give me, as much as I hate to say it, those awful, dirty Florida Gators getting 10.5 down at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville.
Okay, who's the greatest quarterback in Tennessee history?
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. What was his record against Florida?
Donut.
Never won. Unless T. Martin comes back. You got to be worried about the Vols, even though Florida is down. I can't disagree with your pick. Proud of you, buddy.
Thank you. We're about that cash.
That had to hurt,
about
though,
that
right?
money.
It hurt a little bit.
Oh, man. It's like when you have to discipline your kids. I don't like it, but I have to do it.
I love to discipline my kids. I'll discipline your kid. Bring him down here right now.
We got the long shot and the degenerate special. Crowd favorites coming up next.
Yes! Put them on!
Let's
Here
go.
we go!
Here we go!
Hey, NFL long shots are 14-2 this season. Let's just get all started. Let's rev up the train. It begins this week in college. K-State plus 13.5 versus Oklahoma. I circled this game early before the season even started because I thought Oklahoma would be down. They have not been down. They have been very impressive. But who do they beat? The one team that will kick you every spot you don't want to be kicked, the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. So that was actually a big game. That was a national game. That was all set. So K-State circled this on their calendar. They've done very well against the Sooners lately. They circled it so much they forgot to even show up against Tulane last week. So here it is today. Not only should you put some money on the 13.5, that's a lot of points in a division game where K-State really matches up with Oklahoma well. Put a little money on the money line. Yeah, actually at
really?
Caesars Sportsbook, they've got a deal where if you put it's plus 430, I believe, for Deuce Vaughn to score a touchdown and K-State to win the game. I did it. I'm feeling very confident about this. Definitely at plus 13.5. See me next week after we are in the winner's section.
Now, I was on with our pal Dan Dockich on his radio program this weekend. He told me he's got a guy that says Oklahoma's going to roll. This is another team playing for style points. Oklahoma falls into that category.
Is that guy Barry Switzer? I mean, you know, who's this guy? Hey, you have to bring your name. Put your name on it here. I don't want to hear about a guy.
Oh, dude. You know how many of these Vegas dudes don't want their names exposed anywhere?
Right.
Come on now. Nobody wants to wake up in the trunk. We've seen that a million times.
I did this morning.
So anybody could bet on teams from the Big 12 or the SEC.
Yeah.
Let's talk about degenerate teams.
Oh, yes.
Cue up the graphic, baby. It is time for the degenerate special. And look at this. Arkansas State at Old Dominion. Boy, there's a lot of bad football games today. There's a lot of horrible teams, and it feels like they're all playing each other. I could have picked a handful of different teams, but this is where we're going. There's a line in the movie The Hangover that taught us all, you don't walk away from the table when you're on a heater. Old Dominion is a degenerate heater.
They are.
Week number 1, they not only covered against Virginia Tech, they beat Virginia Tech outright. Now, Virginia Tech stinks, but Old Dominion should never be beating Virginia Tech. They've actually been pretty solid. They've played a pretty good schedule. Arkansas State, you're going to look at their numbers, you're going to see their points per game, and you're going to be like, oh, wow, why is he taking Old Dominion here? Because Arkansas State doesn't play anybody, and this is their 3rd straight game on the road. So I'm seeing a little fatigue here. I'm seeing a more battle-tested Old Dominion team. You don't walk away from the table on a heater, and you don't go against Old Dominion in the degenerate special. We're going to lay the 5, and we're going out and having the finest meats and cheeses afterwards with all of our winnings.
I love where you said Arkansas State doesn't play anyone. Finally, this week, they're playing Old Dominion. There comes the Monarchs in town, you know.
So, those are the types of games that you circle on the degenerate special calendar right there.
This is a new game, kids, if you're watching, and I hope you're betting with us, kids. What I would tell you is Try to find where the places are that have the teams that he bets on. 'Cause I don't even know where Arkansas State is. I believe it's in Arkansas. That's all I know.
All right, Mr. Big Game Better. Okay. We'll see what you got coming up next with the best bet of the day.
Yeah.
The ones we feel the best about coming up next right here on All Indiana Bets.
Delicious Lunazol.
The Best Bet is brought to you by Evan Williams. Bourbon done right.
I can't remember if it was Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, or the Wu-Tang Clan who said, and I quote, "Cash rules everything around me." We're making money today. There's no other way to look at this. We are making money today.
Who's on the money? George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. So there's a 50-50, 30% chance it was not them and the Wu-Tang Clan. Point is, we're going to make you money.
That's just science.
Yes.
We've done more for science than a lot of these doctors in the country.
Right now, it's best bet time right now. And you've picked a lot of games that no one's going to watch. I picked the Notre Dame game. Okay.
I picked Tennessee and Florida.
Yeah,
it's like the game of the day.
Yeah, if you live in the South. Here we go. This is the game that people want to at least watch the first half until Ohio State.
It's like a 20-point spread.
Okay. The point I would tell you is it is a 20-point spread. Do I think Wisconsin's going to win this game? I do not. Are they quite as good a defense as they've been the last decade? There's no Watt brothers left. I will admit that. But there's no Jonathan Taylor running the clock out for Wisconsin either. But I still like 19.5 points with Wisconsin. I think I've only seen Wisconsin lose one game in my life in the Big Ten, more than 2 touchdowns, okay? They keep it close. They're going to grind it. I still don't believe Ohio State is as good as they looked against Toledo. That same team didn't look that great against Notre Dame. I'm still a little like, I think by the end of the year, Ohio State will slaughter everyone until they get to the SEC. Now, take the Badgers. I know the logic made no sense. That's what I do here. And I've been drinking early.
And listen, man, Evan Williams providing us this bar. Lunazol, part of the Evan Williams family. And we've mixed it with Diet Mountain Dew because we're health nuts and we're concerned about our figure.
Yeah, Danielle gives us a bunch of crap.
Right.
Because I guess, in Carmel, they don't drink Diet Mountain Dew.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're here every single week. Where's Danielle at?
Yeah.
Maybe she should be mixing it with a little something from time to time. All right, let me take you to the conference where the best football is played, Scott, the SEC.
Oh, I can't hear enough of that.
It just matters more. Arkansas on the road, Texas A&M. So Texas A&M laid a complete egg earlier this year. Or did they? Is App State really better than a lot of people thought? Throughout the course of a schedule, everybody has that one week where you come out a little flat. Listen, Jimbo Fisher, he's getting paid a lot of money. And maybe, allegedly, he's paying his players a lot of money. Can't prove that. That's just out there. So I can't see them laying another egg at home in a conference game that they should win. Arkansas coming into College Station here. A lot of the odds makers are down on A&M.
It's not College Station. It's in Jerry's World.
Jerry's World. So odds makers are down. Yeah. Man, I'm not one of those folks. I think A&M's going to show up. I think that defense is actually going to make a few stops. I'm not as high on Arkansas as a lot of folks are. I'll lay the 2 here. That's not a big number. I think the better recruits, the deeper talent is certainly worth at least a field goal here, and we're less than that. This was at 1.5, now it's at 2. If you're going to play it at 1.5, you'll play it at 2. Give me Texas A&M. I'm going to lay 2 in this one.
Okay, who's the top grad that donates the most money to Arkansas? Do you know?
Is that Jerry?
It's Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones. He's playing it in Jerry's World. Do you think Jerry's not going to hire the refs too? I'm telling you, I'm a little nervous about that.
Jerry's too busy trying to suit up to play quarterback for his Dallas Cowboys.
That's possible.
You know, if given the opportunity, he would totally suit up and play quarterback for the Cowboys.
I love them Cowboys.
If you had a rough night last night, like Scott Long, maybe you woke up. Maybe you woke up in a trunk. You can't remember what you did. You've got one of those hospital bracelets on. You're wondering what happened, and you only got $5 to your name.
I cut it off before the show.
Relax. I got you. We're going to turn $5 into 50 with this Ballin' on a Budget parlay.
Did you just intro your own piece?
That's a power move.
That was awesome. You are so good. Go ahead.
It's a power move. Clemson at Wake Forest. I keep hearing about how great Wake Forest is. Wake Forest is good. Clemson's down. Do we know about this quarterback kid? Clemson's getting better as the year goes on. I'm going to lay 7.5 here with the Fighting Dabo Sweeneys. Like the representative from Iowa,
look at that.
I do like the Hawkeyes today in a game that nobody should watch unless you absolutely hate yourself.
You're right.
And then let's get a little baseball in the mix, because I know we're talking college football all day, but those who bet on baseball know this is the time of the year where you have two different types of teams. Teams playing for something and teams taking a look at the future. And this brings us to these two games we got right here. The Mets at the A's. The Mets are throwing Jacob deGrom on the hill today, so we're going to lay 1.5 with the best pitcher in baseball, the Brewers and the Reds. Brewers trying to get that wild card spot. Technically not dead in the Central, but it's close. The Reds, that lineup was in AAA at the beginning of the year. So the Brewers are going out there with Corbin Burns today, the leader in strikeouts a year ago. This is going to be an ugly one. Lay the 1.5 with the Brew Crew. These 4 bets, you make them with $5. You turn $5 into 50. You can thank me tomorrow when you wake up in a bed and not a trunk.
Okay, Hammer, you know my theory on this show. It's about football, but I don't mind you throwing in a couple bets. Much better. Rob Kendall, thanks for filling in. What's with the golf bets? I don't care if you win or lose. We're not a golf. I don't care. It's not a golf show. We got to go on to the Cashman, right?
Oh, you want to talk about guys that win? Look at that handsome man.
Jeez.
Is that John Stamos or is that the Cashman? I can't tell.
He's got Michael Landon's hair under there, too. I don't know if you know that.
He is back. He is rolling. He is making money. And he is coming up next on All Indiana Bets. Very topical.
We call it the Wise Guy winner, and you are facing the Wise Guy himself, 2-0 last week. Share that. Wow, what a graphic that would be if we could see 2-0 last week. Cashman, you got one pick today, so I got some question for you. There's always Dave Matthews in the corner. Is that your guy? You love the Dave Matthews?
Not my guy, but someone else lives here's guy.
Okay.
I'm more of a Springsteen guy.
You're a who?
I'm more of a Springsteen guy.
I see that about you. That's a little surprised. I believe Dave Matthews, his biggest inspiration was the chef from the Muppets. That's who he learns to sing. Be on, bark, 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 bark. Okay, go ahead. What is your pick today, Cashman?
All righty, we're going to take the over 51.5 with Rice at Houston. Rice has put up over 900 yards the last 2 weeks. Not one of the better defensive teams for Houston this year. Over 7-0 the last 7 for Rice, and the over is 10-1 in Rice's last 11 as an underdog. Houston usually puts up 35 to 40 on Rice, so I think Rice can get to 20 today. So I'm going to take the over of 51.5 in this game.
Do you know how many games were on the board this week, Cashman? Do you have any idea?
I don't know exactly how many, but I didn't like many of them. I can tell you that.
Let's say there were 60 games, and then there's the over-unders too. So there was 120 possibilities. Our guy brought up Rice Houston. That's all he could come up with, but that's why he only wins. How do you get those wins?
Go to the CashmanWins.com. I'm 28-13 my last 41 plays. You can get 1 year for $52, or you can get the football package for $40. That'll take you up to the Super Bowl. That's the CashmanWins.com.
Thievery, Hammer, thievery.
Here's a little fun fact. I've been diving into the numbers here. Every time the Cashman shows his hair, he wins. He's undefeated when he shows his hair, ladies and gentlemen. We got it earlier. We got it last week.
Yeah.
He's rolling. The Cashman is rolling. And we are rolling. We got one more pick to make. One more pick to make. We've been holding out. It's a big one. Scott has got a massive play for you.
Yes.
One of the biggest games of the day.
Yes, that's what I do.
Stick around. That pick and my pick coming up next.
Betting lines for All Indiana Bets are presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook.
Hey guys, sorry I couldn't be with you in studio, but I didn't want you to go another week without my Mick pick. And since with the disaster last week with the SEC, they are dead to me this week, and I'm going to the Big Ten. I'm going to the Big House where Michigan and Maryland are playing. They are both a 3-0 team. Michigan is dropping 50-plus points in all 3 of those games, but it's teams like Colorado State, Hawaii, UConn. Are those really great teams to be judging? I think this is going to be a true test for both of these teams. I think Jim Harbaugh would like to see another blowout, but I just don't think that's the case this weekend. Maryland, it's going to be how many penalties can you get this game? I think the count last weekend against SMU ended up to be 15. So we'll see how many penalties they can put up this game. But I think they're going to challenge one another. It's a true test. We'll see what these teams are really like for the Big Ten. Instead of going against the spread, I'm just going to take the under because it's right now at 64.5, which is a good number to go under. And I think I would take that down to 61 where I would start going over. But for now, I'm going under at 64.5. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And until then, cheers.
So for those of you wondering how things work on the All Indiana Bets College Show,
Right.
we're 4 weeks into the season. Every other weekend, Danielle, she's gone.
Yeah.
We don't have custody of her. We rotate weekends. She has to stay with another betting show, apparently.
She had a very sweet football.
Right, did you see that?
I mean, she has got to be working somewhere where they actually pay you.
Was that a Peyton and Eli autographed football above her shoulder?
It was. I'm going to break. I've got a Nerf with Cooper Manning on it. All part of who do they sponsor?
Oh, I believe it's Caesars.
Oh, you can't bring that up. I can. Caesars Sportsbook, the Manning family, and Scott. Wow, here comes the final picks. It seems too soon to be doing that already. The show has flown by.
Now, if you missed it earlier, Scott was ripping on the games that I pick.
Yeah.
You pick these loser games. Nobody's going to want to watch
Arkansas
these.
State.
All right, tough guy, who do you got?
Okay, you make a good point. These teams stink.
This was almost my degenerate special this week.
You know they stink if they're your degenerate. And even degenerates are like, I don't know if I want to pick this because I don't even have to pay attention to it. Here we go. New Mexico State, who's lost games by, I believe, 70 points at certain times this year. Then you got Hawaii, who, quite frankly, used to be a decent football team. June Jones, also Timmy Chang. He's there as the coach. Oh, Todd Graham didn't leave him with anything.
No.
I mean, everybody left the island. I have no... Here we go. It's really a fade of Hawaii. Hawaii is so horrendous. And Hawaii's got to take the long plane ride to Las Cruces, New Mexico. You ever been to Las Cruces?
It's beautiful this time of year.
Sure it is. And it will not be beautiful for Hawaii, where it's much more beautiful every time of year. Jerry Kill finally gets his first win. Hawaii got their win against Duquesne. Didn't know Duquesne had a football team. I'm surprised you've never picked them.
If you lose to Hawaii, I believe your football team charter needs to be thrown into the trash.
Yes, yeah, I don't even think you get a bus ride home. So here we go, come on, Aggies. I know all the info about New Mexico State, don't I?
You do, you do.
Impressive, no one else does, not even the people that live in Las Cruces.
So we had a degenerate special earlier.
Yes.
We had an honorary degenerate special
was.
with that Hawaii, New Mexico State pick. I will see Hawaii and New Mexico State.
What?
And I will raise you Umass and Temple.
You did not.
UMass and Temple. You couldn't get me to watch this game if Kate Upton popped out of my TV wearing nothing but Doritos and dental floss and was passing out $100 bills. This is going to be the worst game on the slate today. The most disgusting offenses going toe-to-toe. But listen, Las Vegas cares enough to put a number on this thing, so who am I to deny the wise guys of all their hard work? The number on this game is 44. I think you could probably set an over-under of 4 on this game, and you probably feel good about taking the under. Let's ride it. Let's go under. I don't know if we're going to get a shootout, if we're going to get a defensive slugfest. These are two of the worst teams in America. I find it hard to believe, though, you're going to get more than 44 points. I really do. I know the defenses are bad, but offensively, boy, these teams just stink. UMass, Temple, under 44. Boy, we have picked some big-time matchups today, Scott.
It really is. Now, we had some breaking news. It's kind of sad for us. We had food coming. I know some of you like to watch the food. Food isn't going to be able to show up. I hadn't eaten in 3 days. I was getting ready for this.
Well, with your betting record, I see why you haven't eaten in 3 days.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Shots have been launched constantly.
Shots have been had.
True. So what do we do next? I guess it's best bets.
I'll tell you what, we're going to do a rundown of our picks.
Yes.
And I'm going to put together a bonus Ballin' on a Budget parlay. You kids ready? Anything can happen Saturday.
I'm going to find something in the fridge.
Scott's going to look in the fridge. I will have a bonus degenerate special parlay. Oh, let's give the people what they want. It's what we do right here on All Indiana Bets. Come on back, baby. Let's go. Let's recap our picks here. Look at some of the names on this board here, Scott. This looks like, with this bad level of names on a board, this is like Larry Bird's draft history with the Pacers here. What do we got for you, my friend?
Well, let's start with Scott Haskin up top here. There was the brothers. What were the brothers from Duke that played that he
Plumlee.
The Plumlee brothers.
Passed up Draymond Green, I believe, for Plumlee.
No, about the same. Iowa, -8. It's, don't watch the game, but, take the money at the end. North Carolina, that's a good game.
Yes.
It's not great teams. They've got weaknesses both, but it should be pretty exciting. You just don't know what's going to happen. I think I do know. Tar Heels. Kansas State, +13.5. That's the game where you're like, hey, it's the fourth quarter and Kansas State's still up. Hey, turn on your TV. That's how I look at it. That happened last year with Kansas, by the way, in Oklahoma. Wisconsin, +19.5. This could be a backdoor cover. I'm not going to kid you. I don't know. I know Ohio State's going to try to run up the score, but I just don't think you can put 3 touchdowns on the Badgers in the Big Ten. New Mexico State, I told you everything about New Mexico State. I hope they were listening. I probably know. I'm like the Rick Venturi of the Aggies. Go with them, -4.5 against Hawaii. The Rainbow, are they still the Rainbow Warriors? I don't even know.
I believe so, and if not, they are to me. It's still Deer Creek to me, so you're talking to the wrong guy. All right, here's my big board here. We start with the Big Ten. We're going to Michigan. We're going to lay 17 against Maryland. I like Michigan's defense. I like Michigan's offense. They're in it for style points. This one makes me throw up in my mouth just a little bit, but that's too many points. And this rivalry with Tennessee and Florida, which has been incredibly one-sided over the last 20 years, crazy things happen in Knoxville. This is too many points. Give me the Gators getting 10.5. Your degenerate special is Old Dominion taking on Arkansas State. Old Dominion laying 5. Old Dominion, they've played a much better schedule. Arkansas State, 3rd straight game on the road. Texas A&M, the Aggies. Everybody jumped off the bandwagon when they lost to App State. I'm not saying they're making the Final Four. They're not even winning their half of the SEC, but they're better than Arkansas, and they're going to win this by at least 2. And last but not least, boy, hold your nose on this one, UMass and Temple, under 44. I don't know if anybody on this team has ever played football before, but UMass is awful. I think it's a team full of contest winners who got the opportunity to put on gear and take a road trip and play football, and Temple stinks too. So we're going all the way down. Boy, there's some stinky games on this board.
I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to that Calipari versus John Chaney matchup. That's going to be a battle on the sideline. Camby is showing up, and so is Mark Macon. So this is exciting.
So those are our picks. Producer Peter, who's back in the studio. Peter, what are you looking at?
5-2 on the year, could easily be 6-1 or 7-0. New Mexico State, Scott's favorite team, screwed me over last week. Garbage time touchdown to clear the 3.5 against Wisconsin, the team total. So what do? We go right back to a low team total this week. Kent State under 7.5 against Georgia. Nobody scores against Georgia. Enough said. Tulsa under 21.5 at Ole Miss. This Ole Miss defense is legit. Tulsa will be overwhelmed up front. And then, hey, we gave it out last week. We're going to give it out again, and we're going to keep giving it until it keeps hitting. A money line parlay. 4 teams. Lindsay, you can go ahead and put it on the screen. Bet those 4 teams to win. You get a plus number with it. $10 wins like 1027. And let's go 3-0 again this week, fellas.